This is the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw. Join the conversation on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Phuket Live Radio.
Hello and welcome to the program. For the last for this week, we crossed to Singapore to find out who are the candidates announced by the Workers' Party for the September 11 general election in Singapore. Who will build the fast train linked to be built between Jakarta and Bandung, China or Japan? Brunei suffers heavy rain, but it keeps the haze away and brings the floods. Malaysia's Prime Minister still under credibility pressure. Vietnam forging closer ties with Israel. And a great story, an Indonesian zoo to receive a Sumatran Rhino from the Cincinnati Zoo in the United States. Don't forget to get the latest copy of the Phuket newspaper. It's out now. U-Fun on Phuket, some form of pyramid scheme. You'll need to get a copy of the Phuket newspaper. It's out now, the best 20 baht you can spend. Let's get on with the program. The latest from the Phuket News Centre. We'll check the world headlines from the BBC and all the stories that count in the ASEAN region here on the Phuket News Hour, brought to you by the Kids Club Phuket.
The news you need to know. This is the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw.
Vietnam News is reporting that Vietnam wants to promote its friendship with Israel, and the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Vietnam met with the Deputy Foreign Minister of Israel in Hanoi this week. The guests were welcome to Vietnam, and the Deputy Foreign Minister and Deputy Prime Minister of Vietnam was delighted at the positive strides being taken by the two nations' relations in recent years, especially in trade, agriculture, science, technology and education and training. He has urged that the two sides increase all-level delegation exchanges, and they want to raise trade between the two countries to $2 billion in the near future, while pushing ahead with negotiations to sign a bilateral agreement on science, technology and cooperation programs on education and training between 2016 and 2018. In return, the Deputy Foreign Minister of Israel said that she valued Vietnam's position in the region and considered Vietnam a key partner in Asia. She was very pleased that some cooperative projects have been effectively implemented, such as a dairy cow project in Ho Chi Minh City and the True Milk project in central Nung An province. That story from the Vietnam News. Moving to Kuala Lumpur, Forbes.com, in an opinion commentary, has said that the feeling that Malaysia is now in an abyss is real. Malaysians fear terrible things are happening to them in their country because of poor leadership. And the man who rightly or wrongly will be blamed for all of Malaysia's woes will unfortunately be the current Prime Minister. In June this year, according to Forbes.com, the Prime Minister responsible for transforming the Malaysian economy, in an open letter to Bloomberg, complained that he hardly recognised the country that Bloomberg columnist William Pesek was writing about. In the open letter, Idris Jala provided a robust rebuttal of the commentary from Bloomberg. Last week, Prime Minister Najib Razak was compelled to assert that Malaysia is not a failed state as public outrage reached a crescendo. Some even suggested that Malaysia is heading towards dictatorship and a failed state. Najib Razak countered with statistics and example. Both the Prime Minister and his Minister for Economic Transformation are correct that on balance, the available analysis suggests that the Malaysian economy is healthy and that the Prime Minister is not yet a dictator. But both men also know that despite evidence to support their arguments, and after spending hundreds of millions of ringgit to prosecute their case and improve the Prime Minister's image, the majority of Malaysians still think little of him. That report from Forbes.com, and this is in light of the allegations that he accepted $700 million from a foreign donor for the ruling party's political activities, and noting too that Malaysia has been elevated in the trafficking in people report from Tier 3 to Tier 2 in this year's report. We'll keep watching the stories out of Malaysia, a challenging time ahead. And finally to Brunei, the BorneoBulletin.com is reporting that after heavy afternoon showers have cleared the haze that has been affecting the capital and the Sultanate over the past few days, but the thunder showers resulted in flash floods, notably in Jalan Berabi Telanai area heading towards Katok National Housing Area, as well as Kilanas, Jangsak, Bunut, Madawa and Mata Mata areas. A long line of cars could be seen stuck in floodwaters. The Fire and Rescue Department of Brunei said that a total of 11 reports of fallen trees in Mata Mata and Godong areas were received. That report that the haze that's been affecting the Sultanate of Brunei The rain's come along and kind of cleared the haze, but now the floodwaters are continuing. That's just some of the stories making news in the ASEAN region. More news on the way. This is the Phuket News Hour.
Missed something? No problem. Listen to the Phuket News Hour any time of the day. Programmes posted daily on the phuketnews.com/radio and on our Facebook page, Phuket Live Radio.
We told you yesterday, September 11 will be the election in Singapore, a very, very short period for the announcement. The candidates need to be locked in by September 1st. But according to Channel News Asia, the opposition party has introduced some of their new faces this week, but will only announce the constituencies that the candidates will contest on nomination day on September 1st. Let's cross to Channel News Asia for this report.
Now, the Workers' Party unveiled the first of its potential candidates for the GE. 3 new faces were formally introduced: a banker, an engineer and a sociology professor. Ho Yin Ni with more.
A day after the writ of election was issued, the Workers' Party has kicked off the introductions of the candidates it is likely to field in the general elections. Of the 4 introduced, 3 are first-timers. Speaking in both English and their respective mother tongues, the 3 new faces set out their reasons for joining politics. Dylan Ng is a banker who's been volunteering with the WP for 3 years.
In 2009, one of my best friends passed away. So it's a wake-up call to me, because after 15 years of working in the corporate sector, pursuing my dreams, personal dream, it's important to ask myself a very fundamental question: is if life more than just a personal career, it's about giving back to the society through the public service.
Also introduced was Mr. Rezwan Hafiz Abdul Razak, an engineer who's been with the party since before the 2011 general election.
Joining the party was not an easy decision for me. My wife is a civil servant, and I think the fear of being politically associated with civil servant is something real in Singapore. But however, with her blessings, we are married for almost 3 years. I actually joined the party with her blessings, and today here I am as a potential candidate for the Workers' Party.
Both Mr. Ng and Mr. Rizwan intend to focus on the cost of living during their campaign. Associate Professor of Sociology Daniel Goh is the current president of the party's youth wing and has been volunteering with the party for the last 4 years. He said he entered politics for the sake of his 3-year-old son and wanted to push for greater balance in Singapore's political system for future generations.
That report from Channel News Asia. Now, the party has declared that it will contest 28 seats, 5 more than the 23 candidates it fielded in 2011, but has said that they will only announce the constituencies that each of the candidates will contest on nomination day on September 1, and just repeating the Singapore elections to be held on September 11. That report from Channel News Asia. More news on the way. This is the Phuket News Hour, brought to you by the Kids Club Phuket.
Your daily news fix, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Only on Live 89.5.
The Phuket News Hour brought to you by the Kids Club Phuket, opposite Jung Salong, open from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m, 7 days a week, a great place for the kids to play. Put this in your diary. Sunday, September the 6th, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m, the Kids Club Phuket, Day of Knowledge. Join us for a fun information and entertainment afternoon and evening organised by the Phuket Mummies Club on Sunday the 6th of September starting at 4 p.m. Browse the information booths between 4 and 5 p.m. and learn more about what the following groups and businesses have on offer for your children. Representatives will be on hand from Jube Jube, Indigo Kids International Preschool, Oasis Ed Phuket, Kids Planet and Happy Baby. From 5 p.m. to 7 p.m, entertainment will include performances by dancers, acrobats, interactive games, fun contests and other activities for your children. Entry charges of 350 baht per child and 100 baht adults will entitle you to a day entry ticket to the Kids Club plus all the entertainment. So come along early, enjoy the fun-filled day for all the family. The Day of Knowledge, Sunday, September the 6th, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m, where? The Kids Club Phuket, opposite Jung Salong, underground parking, open 7 days a week.
The stuff you need to know. 60 minutes of news on the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw.
Well, the economic powers of China and Japan, according to the Bangkok Post, A story from Jakarta that China and Japan are locked in an increasingly heated contest to build Indonesia's first high-speed railway, with the Asian giants sweetening deals and turning up the charm as time runs out to woo Jakarta. Now, the rivalry over this major project is just the latest to flare up as China challenges Japan's long-standing dominance in Southeast Asia as a key source of infrastructure funding. Japan, a top 3 investor in Indonesia, with huge stakes in the automotive and mining sectors, seemed destined to build the high-speed railway until China muscled in with a counteroffer earlier this year. President Joko Widodo stoked the competitive spirit of the two Asian powerhouses as he toured China and Japan in April, trying to drum up much-needed investment for a multi-billion-dollar overhaul of Indonesia's ageing infrastructure. In both Beijing and Tokyo, he boarded bullet trains and declared his vision for high-speed rail in Indonesia, a line connecting the sprawling capital Jakarta with Bandung, a mountain-fringed city framed for its universities and IT expertise, about 160 kilometres, 100 miles from Jakarta. It was a stunt to grab the attention of his hosts. It certainly worked. A steady stream of diplomats and envoys from Tokyo and Beijing have been pouring in since April to pitch to the Widodo administration, and Jakarta is enjoying the limelight. Let them race to invest in Indonesia. It's good for us, according to the chief political minister and a close aide to President Widodo. The line, if completed, will not only slash travel between Jakarta and Bandung, but pave the way for an expanded network linking the capital with Indonesia's second largest city, Surabaya, in East Java. That report from the Bangkok Post, China and Japan fighting it out to build fast rail in Indonesia. More news on the way, a happy story about a Sumatran Rhino returning to breed from a Cincinnati zoo in the United States. Great story. More news on the way.
Today's important stories and the island's best music. This is the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw.
What better way to finish the program for this week, but with a really nice feel-good story about a beautiful animal going to Indonesia to breed. In a news conference yesterday, the Cincinnati Zoo has officially announced plans to relocate an endangered Sumatran rhinoceros to Indonesia. Chara Revitt with this report.
Terry Roth, the director of Cincinnati Zoo's Center for Conservation and Research of Endangered Wildlife, told Newsweek that the news conference would let zoo guests and members know about the plans to relocate the rhino named Harapan so that they can visit him one last time. Zoo officials have obtained import permits from the Indonesian government but are awaiting approval. Harapan is the only remaining member of his species currently living outside of Southeast Asia. The species is critically endangered, with fewer than 100 individuals estimated in the wild. Scientists now believe that the species is extinct in Malaysia and only survives in Indonesia. Its habitat is threatened by development and poachers. Harapan's handlers will relocate him to protected sanctuary on Sumatra, the western Indonesian island to which the species is native. There he will be monitored and safeguarded by anti-poaching units. Researchers will keep an eye on his health and diet and attend to any medical needs that might arise. The move, the zookeepers hope, maximize his breeding potential by putting him in contact with other wild rhinos.
Chara Revitt with that report. And go to facebook.com, the Phuket News, and facebook.com, Phuket Live Radio, and watch Harapan having his very own mudbath before he moves to Indonesia. This is the Phuket News Hour. More news on the way.
The stuff you need to know. 60 minutes of news on the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw.
That is it for the Phuket News Hour for today and for this week. Make sure you have a terrific weekend. Get down to the Kids Club Phuket. They're open all weekend, as you know, 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Go down, have some fun with the kids at the Kids Club Phuket this weekend. The Phuket News Hour proudly brought to you by the Kids Club Phuket, produced and presented by Tim Shaw, associate producer Chara Revitt, using the resources of the BBC, the Phuket News Centre, CNN, ABC and the World Wide Web. Make sure you have a terrific weekend. Tune in Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to midday for the Phuket News Hour, the catch-up program, 6 a.m. Tuesday through Saturdays, and don't forget forget, facebook.com The Phuket News and facebook.com Phuket Live Radio. You can make your comments there and give us feedback about the Phuket News Hour. Have a terrific weekend. Until we next speak again, have a safe and wonderful weekend. Bye for now.
This is the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw. Join the conversation on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Phuket Live Radio.